Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are bringing you an explainer of a seriously brilliant tactical guide aimed squarely at Gen Z. We're talking about early financial independence. Look, if you've ever felt like the financial rules of the game were written for, a totally different generation, you're absolutely going to want to pay close attention to this one. We are breaking down the exact strategies, the wealth multipliers, and the specific chronological milestones you need. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, our source material throws down a massive challenge to the status quo. It says, forget the generic save 10% advice you heard in school. We've all heard it, right? It's that standard old school wisdom that's been passed down forever. But for Gen Z, honestly, looking at the modern economic landscape, this passive advice just completely fails to move the needle. If your actual goal is early financial independence, merely skimming 10% off the top and kind of hoping for the best, it's simply not going to cut it anymore. We need something much sharper.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core difference we need to grasp today. Generic advice is just so vague. It's a passive 10% rule crossing its fingers. But a tactical strategy that calculates exactly what is mathematically required, literally down to the dollar, to reach early financial independence. So instead of just picking a random percentage out of thin air, this framework totally replaces passive guessing with absolute, calculated precision based on your specific income and your specific goals.
To really understand how this works in practice, let's bring these concepts to life. Meet Jamie. Jamie is a 24-year-old professional, making a starting salary of $60,000 a year, juggling rent, some lingering student loans, but explicitly aiming for early financial independence. And Jamie quickly realized that following traditional savings advice was kind of like trying to navigate a modern city using a map from 1950. Socking away $6,000 a year just wasn't going to buy freedom anytime soon. Jamie needed a real tactical guide to just eliminate all the guesswork.
So, what does this all mean for Jamie? How does a 24-year-old actually reach early financial independence? I mean, if the old rules are completely out the window, what replaces them? How do you go from earning a pretty standard entry-level paycheck to securing true financial freedom while you're still incredibly young? Well, it absolutely doesn't happen by accident. It requires a fundamental, ground-up shift in how you view and organize every single dollar that comes your way.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 1, Building the Foundation, Tactical Account Prioritization.
Okay, so for Jamie, the very first step in this tactical guide isn't just about saving more. It's about knowing exactly where those savings go. Because, not all financial accounts are created equal. The source material emphasizes that a Gen Z professional absolutely must follow a strict, mathematically ranked order. Jamie completely eliminates the financial guesswork by following these exact steps. First, capture the full 401k employer match because, guys, that is literal free money. Second, max out a Roth IRA to lock in tax-free growth. And third, utilize a health savings account, or HSA, for its incredible triple tax advantage. Boom! Every single dollar is given a specific, logical job.
So, the crucial point is found here in Section 2, the secret weapon, the wealth multiplier effect.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that Jamie possesses an absolute superpower right now. And that superpower is time. Because Jamie is prioritizing investments right now in their early 20s, compound interest acts as this massive multiplier. A single dollar invested at age 24 is mathematically worth exponentially more than that exact same dollar invested at age 35. It's wild. The gap between starting early versus starting later isn't just some small difference, it's a literal explosion of wealth. By getting those tax-advantaged accounts funded today, Jamie's money immediately begins doing all the heavy lifting.
But, well, here's the catch. This wealth multiplier is inextricably tied to the clock, specifically age 26. In our sources framework, this number isn't just a suggestion, it is a strict, looming deadline. Why 26? Because mathematically speaking, securing your foundational wealth by this specific age allows your investments nearly 4 full decades to compound before traditional retirement age. Plus, you're capturing that peak window of low expenses before major life costs typically hit. So that window of supreme opportunity, it's incredibly narrow.
Which brings us to Section 3, the deadline, 3 checkpoints before 26.
Let's map out Jamie's chronological countdown here. At 23 and 24, the realization hits, right? The tactical strategy is adopted. But heading into age 25 and suddenly knocking on the door of 26, the pressure really mounts. Jamie has a very tight window to actually implement this tactical account prioritization and fully trigger that wealth multiplier effect. The whole strategy to set up early financial independence is aggressively front-loaded into just these few critical years.
To actually succeed before that age 26 deadline, Jamie must sequentially hit 3 specific, logic-based net worth milestones derived from our source. Let's break them down. First, building a baseline of 0 high-interest debt and a fully funded 3-month emergency fund. That just proves financial mastery. Second, securing exactly $20,000 in invested capital across those prioritized accounts we talked about to really trigger the wealth multiplier. And third, crossing the definitive $50,000 total net worth threshold. Actually hitting these exact metrics mathematically guarantees the trajectory toward early financial independence. It's almost like a financial cheat code.
And that brings us to the most important question of this entire explainer. Will you hit your 3 checkpoints before 26? We've seen exactly how Jamie abandoned those passive habits, utilized specific accounts like the Roth IRA and the HSA, and aimed straight for that hard $50,000 net worth target. So are you still relying on old school advice, or are you ready to calculate your specific numbers and finally take control of your financial independence? Something to really think about. Thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, keep learning.